So I decided at the advanced age of 70, which is what I am now, that I would, rediscover New York, my city, but a city that's for a lot of people has moved on. And I decided that it hasn't moved on for me. I'm gonna live in the present, which is what I've always tried to do.
I love that. Is that what we're going to look at next?
Sure, let's look at that.
Okay, okay.
The book is called Last Stop, and the full title, which we just decided to drop the subtitle, was Last Stop on This Train. When you get to the end of a subway line in New York City, there's a automated voiceover that says, "This is the last stop on this train. Everyone, please leave the train. Thank you for riding New York City Transit." So uh, that became the title of the book,
Mm.
and
I
the
love
reason I
Nathan's hot dogs. I love them. You got me with that already. I'm in. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
so yeah, what I was going to say is that um, I wanted to photograph the entire city, but that seemed to be a little bit excessive.
Hmm.
It's a city of 8 million people or more, and it's pretty vast. So I was looking for a way to do it in pieces that would come together as a portrait of the present city. So I came up with the idea of going to the ends of the subway lines, and I felt like that also was consistent with the premise of this uh, project, which is that the city is not as Manhattan centric as it once was, that it's become more multi centered, and that those sort of satellite areas, many of which are at the ends of the subway lines, have taken on greater importance economically and culturally. So by doing that, by going to the ends of the line, I can then describe this, larger, more just disparate kind of multi-centered city. One of the things that I think is important to bring up here is that we're at this very difficult time politically with uh, Trump coming in January with the promise of deporting millions of illegal immigrants, and a lot of these neighborhoods um, are built on the immigrants, whether they're legal or not. And so there's going to be a great deal of trauma in some of these places. And, you see this picture on the left. You can see part of the word Bangladesh on the right, and this uh, place where people are, this car place or where they fix flat tires and things like that. These are the kinds of businesses that employ immigrants, whether they're legal or not legal. And these are the thing that people say is, well, that what's the problem, what's going to be really bad for the US is that these people, if they're forced to leave, these are the people that do jobs that other people don't want to do. But what I would say, which I think is even more significant, is these people bring um, an entrepreneurial spirit that a lot of local people don't bring, the people that are already on the ground here. That if you come to the United States with hopes and dreams for you and your family, um, these are people with ingenuity and creativity, and they bring something to these neighborhoods that would not exist otherwise. And it's not always pretty. Like, these places like what we're looking at here look pretty bad, but there's a lot of activity going on. it's just a remarkable testimony. The city is a remarkable testimony to the ability of different kinds of people, of different ethnicities, different religions, to get along and to actually thrive. Just despite all of the problems and difficulties.
Yeah.
This right here is this is Grand Central Terminal. So Grand Central is actually the end of one of my lines. There's a very short line in the system just referred to as the shuttle. It's the Grand Central Times Square shuttle that runs just east west and connects these two centers. And um, what I wrote here is something that I feel, is really sums up a lot of, we're talking about how I feel about New York. So let me just read this because I think this is really significant. Um, Grand Central Terminal has always felt to me like the epicenter of New York City. Many years ago, before the advent of cell phones, I arranged to meet a friend at the famous clock atop the information kiosk, located beneath the starry zodiac painted high above on the ceiling. I was running late and called Grand Central. There was a number, and my friend was paged and my message relayed. It was a moment that captured the miracle of the city. Here in the heart of the metropolis, at the nexus of a vast web of trains, in the swirling crowds and the blur of anonymity, you realize that it all revolves around you, one individual out of millions. That sense of identity is the secret of every New Yorker.
Hmm. It's interesting that you're you're kind of trying to it's and it might be kind of a response to kind of other people's responses to that previous body of work that you showed us. And it's like, well, we have a great city today. You know what I mean? It's just as alive as it was back then. It has its own unique problems and own unique group of people now in it. And I think that's an interesting place to be. And I think you even referenced it earlier when you were talking about your son and how he looks at the city and seeing it through his eyes and so on. It kind of do you feel like that's what kind of inspired this particular body of work? Is that
Yeah,
were you trying to maybe see the city and hit through his eyes? Maybe. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I
Um,
love that. I think that's great.
he,
That's
there was this moment when he was I don't know how old he was, maybe 14 years old, 12 years old. We were on the subway on the Williamsburg Bridge. The train runs on the bridge, so you have the city below you. You can see it, and I remember him at one point saying, as we were on the bridge, that he says there are times when here in New York I feel like I'm at the very center of the world, and you know I had that moment myself. I've had those moments myself when I was younger, feeling that. And whether it's true or not is not the point. I mean, obviously, there are lots of other great places in the world, and any number of great reasons to be in those other places. But that's what New York will give to you if you open up to it, is this sense that you're at a place where what you do matters, and that you're not. I mean, I'm here. I have this view of the skyline, which I was telling you about. I have the United Nations directly across from me there. Um, this is, you're here in New York. You feel you have some. There's a. I feel I have a kind of mission that I'm on here, um, and that I'm not here just to hang out. There are a lot of great places to hang out in the world. There's great cities to hang out in if you want to just like do that. But if it's about trying to get some things done, you can't beat the city for that.
I love that. Uh, uh, it's very American.
Well, yeah,
Just that kind of sensibility, that kind of thought. It's awesome. I like that.
well, I've lived in Europe too,
Yeah.
and I,
So you know what I mean.
yes, and
Yeah.
my wife is from the Netherlands, and
Yeah.
I'm not I'm very pro Europe. I love
Yeah.
Europe, and I'm not a jingoistic American, but I can't, of course, I have to admit that you know, I'm pretty mortified by what's going on here politically. It's pretty distressing,
Yeah.
but it's up to artists to keep keep things honest and true.